Pregnancy was supposed to be a magical time, or at least that's what every parenting book and website told me. In reality, it was a mix of excitement, exhaustion, and sheer panic. At 5 months pregnant, I had already experienced everything from uncontrollable cravings to hormonal mood swings that made me cry over a dog food commercial. My husband Ryan was doing his best to keep up, but even he looked a little terrified whenever I suddenly burst into tears over something ridiculous. "Maybe you should join a mom group," he suggested one evening as I ranted about how none of my pre-pregnancy clothes fit anymore. I frowned. "A mom group?" "Yeah, like a support group for pregnant women. You can talk to other moms, share experiences, maybe even make some friends." I hesitated. I wasn't exactly the join a club type, but the idea of talking to women who actually understood what I was going through sounded nice. And that's how I ended up joining the Blooming Bellies Club, an online group for pregnant women in our apartment complex. The first meeting was held in the building's community lounge, a cozy space with big windows, plush chairs, and a table full of snacks that I immediately gravitated toward. "Hi, you must be Olivia." A friendly brunette with a wide smile walked over to me. "I'm Jessica, the group coordinator. Welcome to the Blooming Bellies Club." I introduced myself and took a seat, scanning the room. There were about 10 other women, all in various stages of pregnancy, chatting excitedly. "This group is all about support and sharing," Jessica explained. "No judgment, no pressure, just a safe space for moms to be." It sounded great. For the next hour, we talked about everything: morning sickness remedies, weird cravings, the best prenatal vitamins. It felt refreshing to be around people who actually got it. And for the first time in a while, I thought, maybe this pregnancy thing won't be so bad after all. Just as I was starting to relax, the lounge door swung open. An older woman, probably in her 60s, marched in like she owned the place. She had a stiff posture, sharp eyes, and an air of pure authority that made the room go quiet. "Oh no," I heard someone whisper. "It's Mrs. Patterson." I turned to Jessica, confused. "Who's that?" Jessica sighed. "Linda Patterson. She's the mother-in-law of one of our members, Emily. And, well, she's a little intense." That was an understatement. Linda scanned the room like a military general inspecting her troops, then made a beeline for Emily, a petite blonde woman who looked visibly nervous. "Emily," Linda said, her voice sharp. "Did you drink the herbal tea I sent you this morning?" Emily nodded quickly. "Yes, Mom, thank you." Linda huffed. "Good. That tea is essential for the baby's development. And remember, no spicy food, no junk, and absolutely no sweets. We don't want you gaining unnecessary weight." I stared. Was this woman serious? Emily nodded meekly, but I could tell she was uncomfortable. And then, just when I thought things couldn't get any weirder, Linda's gaze landed on me. "You," she said, pointing a perfectly manicured finger at me. I blinked. Me?" She marched over. "You're Olivia, correct?" I nodded cautiously. She narrowed her eyes. "I heard from Emily that you were talking about body positivity and not stressing about weight gain." I frowned. "Well, yeah, pregnancy is already hard enough without obsessing over weight." Linda gasped, as if I had just committed a crime. "So it's true," she exclaimed. "You're the one corrupting Emily's mind." "Excuse me? You're telling her it's okay to eat whatever she wants. To ignore proper nutrition. You're putting my grandchild at risk." I almost laughed. Was she serious? "I never told anyone to ignore nutrition," I said, crossing my arms. "I just said pregnant women shouldn't stress about every pound they gain." Linda scoffed. "Spoken like a lazy woman who doesn't care about her child's health." The room went dead silent. I felt my jaw tighten. "I care about my child just fine. Thank you." Linda wasn't done. "If Emily's baby is born underweight, it will be your fault. You should be ashamed of yourself." My hands clenched into fists. Was this woman actually blaming me for something that hadn't even happened? Jessica quickly stepped in. "Mrs. Patterson, this is a support group, not a lecture hall. Olivia has every right to her own opinions." But Linda wasn't backing down. "Oh, I see how it is," she snapped. "This entire group is promoting unhealthy behavior. Well, I won't stand for it. I will make sure every mother here knows the right way to raise a child." And with that, she stormed out, leaving the entire room in awkward silence. The moment Linda left, the tension in the room melted away. Jessica let out a dramatic sigh. "Well, that was eventful." Emily looked mortified. "I'm so sorry. She does this all the time." I forced a smile. It's fine. But, is she always like that? Emily nodded miserably. She controls everything. What I eat, how I dress, even how I decorate the nursery. I don't know how to say no to her. I felt a twinge of sympathy. As annoying as Linda was, I could tell that Emily was struggling under her control. And for some reason, I had a feeling this wasn't the last time I'd be seeing Linda Patterson. Ever since the Blooming Bellies Club incident, I had been trying to avoid unnecessary drama. But apparently, drama had other plans for me. One evening, as I was settling onto the couch with a bowl of mac and cheese, I heard a knock on my door. Not the friendly, casual kind of knock, more like the desperate, urgent, borderline panicked kind. I waddled over, because at 6 months pregnant, everything I did was a waddle now, and opened the door. Standing there was a woman I had never seen before. She was around my age, also visibly pregnant, with dark circles under her eyes and an almost pained expression on her face. "Hi," she said quickly, glancing over her shoulder like someone was chasing her. "I live upstairs. I'm Tiffany Greene. Can I borrow some food?" I blinked. "I'm sorry, what?" She gave me a sheepish smile. I haven't eaten since this morning. I was wondering if you had anything to spare?" I was too shocked to answer for a second. Who just knocked on a stranger's door and asked for food like that? But before I could say anything, my baby kicked. Hard. And suddenly I remembered how horribly hungry I had been just 30 minutes ago. Pregnancy hunger was no joke. So, against my better judgment, I stepped aside and said, "Come in." I reheated another plate of mac and cheese and watched as Tiffany devoured it like a starving animal. "Sorry," she said between bites. "I usually eat better than this, I swear." I raised an eyebrow. "So, why haven't you eaten all day?" She hesitated. For a moment I thought she wouldn't answer. Then, with a long sigh, she muttered, "My mother-in-law." Oh, that explained a lot. Tiffany wiped her mouth and set her fork down. "She controls everything I eat," she admitted, voice bitter. "She's obsessed with traditional pregnancy diets and says I have to follow them for the baby's sake." I frowned. "What kind of diet are we talking about?" she sighed. "Boiled chicken, plain oatmeal, and herbal teas that taste like dirt." I winced. "Yikes." She nodded. "And if I even think about eating something else, she freaks out. Yesterday, she caught me sneaking a granola bar, and she threw it in the trash." My jaw dropped. "That's insane," I said. Tiffany laughed, but it wasn't a happy laugh. "Tell me about it." I felt bad for her. Really, I did. But I also had a sinking feeling that this wasn't just a one-time visit. I was right. The next evening, just as I was sitting down for dinner, there was a knock on my door. It was Tiffany again. "Hey," she said, drawing out the word awkwardly. "So funny story, I forgot to eat lunch today. Crazy, right?" I narrowed my eyes. "Crazy." She smiled sweetly. "Sue, do you happen to have anything to eat?" I sighed and let her in. This happened again the next day, and the next. At first, I tried to convince myself that she just needed help. But by the 5th visit, it was clear. She wasn't just borrowing food. She was treating my kitchen like a free buffet. One afternoon, I caught Tiffany casually browsing my fridge like she lived here. "Ooh, you have leftover pasta," she said cheerfully, grabbing a fork. "Mind if I snatched the container away before she could take a bite. "Tiffany," I said flatly, "we need to talk." She blinked innocently. "About what?" "About this." I gestured around the kitchen. "About you showing up every day and eating my food like this is a restaurant." She looked offended. "I thought we were friends." I sighed, pinching the bridge of my nose. Friends don't mooch off each other. Tiffany crossed her arms. "Wow, so now I'm just some mooch?" I stared at her. "Tiffany, you showed up at my door asking for food within 5 minutes of meeting me." She looked away. I just don't have anywhere else to go." Despite how annoyed I was, I couldn't completely ignore the look of desperation on her face. I took a deep breath. "Look," I said, softening my tone, "I'm happy to help you, within reason. But this isn't sustainable. You need to set boundaries with your mother-in-law." She laughed bitterly. "Yeah, good luck with that." "Have you even tried?" She was quiet. I sighed. "If you want, I can help you come up with a plan. But Tiffany, you can't just keep running away to my place every time you're hungry." For the first time since I met her, she actually looked embarrassed. "Okay," she mumbled. "I'll try." And for the first time, I actually believed her. Tiffany didn't stop visiting entirely, but after our conversation, she was more mindful. Instead of barging in unannounced, she would text first. Instead of raiding my fridge, she would ask for help planning meals she could eat at home. And instead of treating me like a free chef, she started treating me like an actual friend. And against all odds, I realized something. I didn't mind having her around after all. At first, I tried to be patient with Tiffany Greene. She was struggling, and I wanted to help. But as the weeks went on, I realized something very concerning. Tiffany wasn't just accepting help. She was taking advantage of it. At first, she only showed up around dinner, asking for just a little something to eat. Then she started making requests. "Hey, Olivia, can you make spaghetti tonight? I've been craving it." Or, "I saw you ordered takeout last night. If you get sushi again, can you grab me some too?" And then the worst one. "Could you not use too much salt in the food? I like my meals a little lighter." I stared at her in disbelief. She was critiquing my cooking now? I had no idea how we got here, but suddenly Tiffany was treating my kitchen like a personal restaurant. One afternoon, while scrolling through our Blooming Bellies Club group chat, I stumbled across something that made my blood run cold. A message from Linda Patterson, the same woman who had attacked me at the first meeting, was posted in the group. "Linda, it's such a shame that some women think pregnancy is just an excuse to be lazy and stuff themselves with junk food." Another woman replied, "Are you talking about someone in particular?" "Oh, just a certain neighbor who acts generous, but clearly has no self-control." I frowned. Was she talking about me? Before I could scroll further, another message popped up. From Tiffany. "Tiffany, oh, I know exactly who you mean. She acts like she's being kind, but really she's just using pregnancy as an excuse to eat for 2 or 3 or 4. My jaw dropped. She was talking about me. The same Tiffany who had been mooching off my food every night. The same Tiffany who had begged me to let her eat here. She was badmouthing me behind my back. I felt sick. After everything I had done to help her, she was trashing me to Linda Patterson. It wasn't just betrayal, it was disrespect. That night, as expected, Tiffany showed up at my door again. She smiled like nothing was wrong. "Hey, I was thinking, could we have lasagna tonight?" I stared at her. "Are you serious?" She blinked. Yeah?" I folded my arms. "Tell me something, Tiffany. If I'm such a lazy, gluttonous mess, why do you keep eating my food?" Her face immediately paled. "What?" She laughed nervously. I don't know what you're talking about." I pulled out my phone and showed her the messages. Tiffany's eyes darted across the screen, and I watched as her face twisted in panic. "Olivia, I didn't mean it like that," she stammered. "Linda she was saying all these things, and I didn't want to disagree with her." "Oh, so you threw me under the bus instead?" I snapped. Tiffany's expression darkened. "You're overreacting." I let out a cold laugh. "Overreacting? You've been eating my food for weeks while trashing me behind my back, and now you have the audacity to stand here and act innocent?" Her face twisted in anger. "You know what?" she snapped. "You're acting all high and mighty, but let's be real. You were never that nice to begin with. You just liked feeling superior. That's why you helped me." I stared at her in disbelief. The sheer ungratefulness was astounding. "You need to leave," I said firmly. "And don't come back." She scoffed. "Fine. I don't need your stupid food anyway." Then she stormed off, leaving me standing there, heart pounding with anger. For a moment, I stood in the doorway, still trying to process what had just happened. Then slowly I smiled. Not because I was happy, but because for the first time in a long time, I had set a boundary and stuck to it. Tiffany Greene could talk all the trash she wanted, but she wasn't mooching off me anymore. And that, at least, was a win. I knew Tiffany Greene wouldn't take rejection well, but even I wasn't prepared for what came next. The morning after our argument, I woke up to dozens of notifications from the Blooming Bellies Club chat. Curious, I clicked in and immediately felt my stomach drop. At least 50 new messages had flooded the chat overnight, and the very first one I saw was from Linda Patterson. "Linda, it's truly disappointing how some people pretend to be generous but are actually selfish and wasteful." My eyes narrowed. I scrolled down and found another message, this time from Tiffany. "Tiffany, exactly. Some women in this building love to show off how much they have, while others struggle. It's really sad." I stiffened. Oh, so this was their game. They couldn't mooch off me anymore, so now they were trying to turn everyone against me. The more I read, the angrier I became. Linda, I heard someone in this group throws away perfectly good food while others barely have enough to eat. And she brags about ordering expensive takeout every night, but won't share with people in need. Another woman chimed in. Random mom. That's awful. Who does that? Linda, I won't name names, but let's just say she lives on the 5th floor and thinks she's better than everyone else. I nearly threw my phone across the room. They weren't just spreading rumors. They were straight up lying. Me? Wasteful? Me? Bragging about money? The irony was unbelievable coming from the same woman who had been stealing my food just days ago. I took a deep breath, my fingers trembling with rage as I typed my response. Me? Wow, that's interesting, Tiffany. Would you like to explain why you came to my apartment almost every night for the past 2 weeks, eating my food for free? The chat went dead silent for a few seconds. Then, I don't know what you're talking about. I smirked. Oh, sweetie. Wrong answer. Oh, really? Because I have text messages and security footage of you knocking on my door at dinner time. Should I post the timestamps? More silence. Wait. Tiffany, is that true? That's not the point. The point is that Olivia hoards food and doesn't care about anyone else. Oh, so now she was changing the subject? I wasn't done yet. Me. Let's also talk about how you and Linda have been trash-talking me behind my back. Me. Don't deny it, I have screenshots. I uploaded 3 screenshots of their conversation from the night before where they called me lazy and selfish. The reaction was instant. Random Mama 1. Wait, Linda, weren't you just accusing Olivia of being selfish, but here you are gossiping about her like a high schooler? Random Mama 2. And Tiffany, you were literally eating her food? But now you're playing victim? Yeah, this doesn't look good, ladies. I could almost see Tiffany and Linda panicking behind their screens. Then, finally, this is ridiculous. I don't have time for childish drama. And just like that, she left the group. Tiffany, realizing she had no backup, quickly followed. Once they were gone, people immediately turned on them. Random mom number 3. Wow. So Linda just starts drama and then runs away? Typical. Olivia, I'm so sorry you had to deal with that. It's fine. Honestly, I'm just glad the truth is out. If they ever try to pull something like this again, let me know. We don't need that kind of negativity here. I put my phone down and exhaled deeply. It was over. For weeks, I had let Tiffany and Linda walk all over me, but not anymore. This time, I had fought back, and I had won. After getting exposed and humiliated in the group chat, I assumed that Tiffany Greene and Linda Patterson would finally back off. I was wrong, because the very next morning, I woke up to something disgusting. The moment I opened my apartment door, a horrible stench hit me like a brick wall. I looked down and saw a pile of rotten garbage smeared right across my welcome mat. Rotten eggs, spoiled milk, something that looked suspiciously like fish guts. It was so bad, I had to cover my mouth to keep from gagging. My first thought? Oh, you have got to be kidding me. My second thought? This has Linda Patterson written all over it. I knew confronting her directly wouldn't do anything. She would just deny everything. So I decided to do something better. I bought a security camera and installed it right outside my door, angled perfectly to catch any unwanted visitors. And sure enough, the very next morning, I caught Linda Patterson on camera, waddling up to my apartment in her oversized coat, holding a suspicious-looking plastic bag. I watched as she dumped the contents right in front of my door, then scurried away like some cartoon villain. Oh, Linda, you really thought you could get away with this? I didn't waste any time. That afternoon, I uploaded the footage directly into the Blooming Bellies group chat with a simple caption. Me. So, does anyone recognize this lovely lady? The chat exploded. Random Mom number 1, no way, is that Linda? OMG, she's actually crazy. Okay, this is officially harassment. Olivia, do you want me to report this to management? Already did. They're handling it. Within an hour, the entire apartment building knew what Linda had done. And for the first time ever, people weren't afraid to call her out. I heard from my neighbor that Linda tried to deny everything at first, but when the apartment manager personally confronted her with the footage, she had no choice but to back down. Her punishment? A formal warning from building management. A cleanup fine, which she screamed about for 20 minutes, and the complete loss of whatever reputation she had left. Linda Patterson, the woman who loved to lecture everyone about being classy and proper, had been publicly exposed as a bitter old troublemaker. I thought that would be the end of it. But then Tiffany took things to a whole new level. A few nights later, I ordered takeout from my favorite Thai place. I left the bag on the counter while I went to grab my laptop from the bedroom. When I came back, I immediately noticed something was off. The bag was slightly open. The container lid wasn't sealed all the way. A weird sour smell was coming from inside. My gut twisted. I carefully peeled the lid back and almost threw up. Someone had tampered with my food. There was something slimy mixed in with the rice, something that definitely wasn't supposed to be there. I felt sick to my stomach, and I knew exactly who had done it. Tiffany. I wasn't just angry anymore. I was done. This wasn't just some petty revenge stunt. This was dangerous, and I wasn't about to let it slide. I picked up my phone, heart pounding, and dialed a number I never thought I'd have to call. 911. What's your emergency? I took a deep breath. My name is Olivia Carter, I said, my voice steady, and I need to report a case of food tampering and harassment. After everything Tiffany Greene and her mother-in-law, Linda Patterson, had done, I thought I had seen the worst of their petty revenge tactics. I was wrong. It had been a long day, and I was exhausted. So like any sane pregnant woman craving comfort food, I ordered takeout from my favorite restaurant. 20 minutes later, the delivery guy dropped off the bag at my door, and I brought it inside, already dreaming about my meal. I opened the container and immediately gagged. The food had been tampered with. The rice was moldy, the meat smelled rancid, and there was some kind of brownish slime mixed into the sauce. My stomach churned with disgust. This wasn't just spoiled food. Someone had deliberately put something in it, and I had a pretty good idea who was responsible. My hands shook with anger as I grabbed my phone and pulled up the footage from my newly installed security camera. I fast-forwarded until I saw it. A man in a black hoodie sneaking up to my door minutes after the delivery guy left. He carefully opened the bag, pulled out the real food, and replaced it with the disgusting mess I had just found. Then, as he turned to leave, his hood slipped for just a second, and I saw his face. Ben Greene. Tiffany's husband. I froze, my stomach dropping. This wasn't just a petty prank anymore. This was dangerous, and I wasn't about to let it slide. I didn't hesitate. I dialed 911. 911, what's your emergency? My name is Olivia Carter, I said, voice steady despite my shaking hands. I have video evidence that my neighbor tampered with my food, and I want to file a report for food contamination and harassment. The operator asked me a few questions, and within 15 minutes, 2 police officers were knocking at my door. I showed them the footage, explained everything that had been happening, and gave them the tainted food as evidence. One of the officers, a tall man with sharp blue eyes, nodded grimly. "This is serious," he said. "Food tampering is a crime. If you had eaten this, it could have made you sick, or worse." I felt a chill run down my spine. I knew Tiffany and Linda were spiteful, but I hadn't realized how far they were willing to go. One of the officers pulled out his radio. "We need a unit at apartment 7B. Suspect is Benjamin Greene." I exhaled. Finally, they were going to face consequences. Minutes later, I heard shouting from the hallway. I stepped outside just in time to see Ben Greene being escorted out in handcuffs, his face bright red with rage. "This is ridiculous," he yelled. "I didn't do anything." The officer holding his arm gave him a stern look. "We have video evidence, sir." Tiffany came running out of their apartment, eyes wide with panic. "Ben," she screeched. "What's happening?" "You set me up, you crazy butch," Ben shouted at me. I crossed my arms. "Oh, really? Because the camera footage says otherwise." Tiffany turned to the officers, trying to play innocent. "This is all a misunderstanding," she said desperately. "My husband would never do something like this." One of the officers sighed, clearly unimpressed. "Ma'am, we literally just showed you the video." Tiffany's mouth opened and closed like a fish gasping for air. She had no way out of this. As the officers led Ben downstairs, Tiffany turned on me. "You think you're so smart, don't you?" she hissed. "You just love ruining people's lives." I raised an eyebrow. "Oh, I'm sorry. Was I supposed to let your husband poison me?" Her face flushed with anger. "You'll regret this," she spat. "You have no idea who you're messing with." I rolled my eyes. "Yeah, well, neither did you." Then I turned and slammed my door shut in her face. For the first time in weeks, I felt a sense of relief. The nightmare wasn't completely over yet, but for now, I had won this round. After months of stress, drama, and dealing with lunatic neighbors, the moment had finally arrived. I was going into labor. Ryan, my husband, was frantically pacing while the nurses prepped me for delivery. "Breathe, babe," he said, looking more panicked than I was. "You got this." I let out a strained laugh between contractions. "I think I should be the one telling you to breathe." The hospital staff had already arranged a private room for me, courtesy of my mother-in-law, Margaret Carter. Margaret was not the kind of woman you argued with, especially when it came to her grandchild. She had pulled every string possible to ensure I had the best care. I should have known that this, of all things, would make me a target. A few hours later, as I was resting in my private post-delivery room, the door suddenly swung open. I looked up, expecting a nurse. Instead, I saw Linda Patterson, Tiffany's mother-in-law, and right behind her, a very pregnant Tiffany, looking exhausted and uncomfortable. I immediately felt my blood pressure rise. "What the hell are you doing here?" I demanded. Linda marched right in like she owned the place. "Tiffany is in labor. We need a room." I blinked. "And?" Linda smiled sweetly. "Well, since you have this lovely private room all to yourself, I figured we could share." Ryan, who had been dozing off in the chair next to me, jerked awake. "Wait, what?" Linda gestured dramatically toward Tiffany. "She's family, and a woman in labor shouldn't be alone. It's only fair." I stared at her, trying to process the sheer audacity. Tiffany, who had been avoiding my gaze, shifted uncomfortably. Even she knew this was insane. I laughed dryly. "So let me get this straight. You think you can just barge into my hospital room and demand to share it?" Linda huffed. "Oh, don't be so selfish, Olivia. This room is big enough for two." Ryan, still groggy, finally caught up with the situation. "Absolutely not," he said, standing up. "This is Olivia's room. We're not sharing." Linda's face twisted in fake hurt. "Oh, so you think you're better than us? Just because your family has connections?" I clenched my fists. "No, I think I deserve to recover in peace without being forced to babysit my insane neighbors." Linda's eyes widened in outrage. "How dare you speak to me that way?" She shrieked. "You've always been so ungrateful, after everything we've done for you." I cut her off. "What exactly have you done for me, Linda, besides harass me, steal my food, and try to poison me?" Tiffany let out a choked gasp. "Mom," she whispered, "let's just go." But Linda wasn't done. Instead of leaving with dignity, she did what every entitled person does when they don't get their way. She collapsed onto the floor, dramatically clutching her chest like she was having a heart attack. "Oh, someone help me. I can't breathe. The stress, the injustice. I'm being bullied." Ryan and I exchanged a look. We weren't buying it. Neither was the nurse who had just walked in. The nurse sighed. "Ma'am, if you're having a medical emergency, we can call a doctor." Linda immediately sprang back up. "I don't need a doctor. I need justice." I was about to tell her to get the hell out, but then the door opened again, and in walked Margaret Carter. Margaret didn't even glance at Linda. She walked straight over to my bed, adjusted my blankets, and looked me over critically. "How are you feeling, dear?" she asked. "Better now," I muttered. Linda huffed loudly. "Excuse me, we were in the middle of something." Margaret finally turned to face her. And oh boy, if looks could kill, Linda would have dropped dead on the spot. Margaret's voice was calm but icy. "I'm sorry, who are you?" Linda squared her shoulders. "I'm Tiffany's mother-in-law. We need this room." Margaret raised an eyebrow. "No, you don't," Linda gasped dramatically. "So you're just going to let us suffer while you hoard all the luxury?" Margaret's expression didn't change. "Yes." Ryan stifled a laugh. Linda's face turned red. You snobby entitled." Margaret took a step forward, tilting her head slightly. "I suggest you leave right now before I personally have security escort you out," she said, voice dangerously low. Linda froze. For the first time, she looked genuinely afraid. Even Tiffany took a step back. And then, Linda grabbed Tiffany's arm and stormed out, muttering curses under her breath. As soon as the door slammed shut, I let out a long breath. Margaret turned back to me. "I assume that woman has been a problem for you?" I nodded. "You have no idea." She patted my hand. "Well, don't worry. She won't be a problem anymore." I narrowed my eyes. "What did you do?" Margaret smiled. "Let's just say I had a quick chat with the hospital administration before I came up here." I blinked. Ryan let out a low whistle. "Mom, what exactly did you say?" she smirked. "That's classified information." All I knew was that when I checked my phone later, a message popped up in the Blooming Bellies chat. "FYI, Linda Patterson and Tiffany Greene have officially been banned from the hospital for causing a disturbance." I grinned. Margaret Carter was a force to be reckoned with. And finally, I could rest in peace. Just days after my own baby was born, news spread through the hospital that Tiffany Greene had also given birth. But unlike my smooth delivery, hers was a nightmare. The baby, a tiny, fragile little girl, was born premature and severely underweight. Doctors immediately rushed her into the NICU, neonatal intensive care unit, trying to stabilize her weak, struggling body. And the reason? Tiffany's horrific pregnancy diet, forced on her by Linda Patterson. No protein, no nutrients, just boiled vegetables and herbal tea. Her body had barely been able to support the baby's growth. And now, her child was paying the price. But the real horror came later. That evening, I overheard a heated argument near the NICU. Curious, I carefully stepped into the hallway, and what I saw made my blood run cold. Ben Greene, Tiffany's husband, stood outside the NICU, arms crossed tightly, glaring at his wife. "She's too weak," he said, voice cold. "She won't make it." Tiffany flinched. "Ben, don't say that," Ben scoffed. "We don't have money for a baby that's just going to be a burden." My stomach twisted. Was he really saying what I thought he was saying? "Ben," Tiffany whispered in horror. "She's our daughter." Ben shrugged. Not for long. I felt physically sick. Was this monster actually suggesting they just abandon their newborn child because she wasn't perfect? Apparently, Linda agreed with him. She walked up, looking disgusted at the incubator where the baby lay. "She's defective," Linda snapped. "No point in wasting money on her." Tiffany started shaking. "Mom, what are you saying?" "She's my baby." Linda cut her off. "Not anymore," she said, voice like ice. And then they turned their backs on the baby and walked away. I was too stunned to move. I had known Linda Patterson was evil, but this was beyond cruel. Tiffany stood frozen, watching them leave, her entire body trembling uncontrollably. And then something inside her snapped. With a shattered scream, she collapsed to the floor, sobbing so hard her entire body shook. Doctors and nurses rushed over, trying to calm her down, but she was completely unresponsive. Tears poured down her face as she clutched her stomach, rocking back and forth like a broken doll. "She's gone," she kept whispering. "She's gone, she's gone, she's gone." Linda and Ben thought they could get away with it. They thought they could walk away from their own child like she was some broken object. But they underestimated the hospital staff. A nurse, having overheard their horrific conversation, had already called social services and the police. That same night, Ben Greene was arrested for child neglect and abandonment. And Linda? Oh, Linda got exactly what she deserved. When the officers arrived, she screamed like a banshee, demanding they let her go. She fought, kicked, and even bit a police officer, and ended up being forcibly sedated and taken straight to a psychiatric facility. It was finally over, but at what cost? 2 days later, I heard that Tiffany had been moved to the psychiatric ward. The doctor said she had suffered a severe mental breakdown. She no longer responded to people. She just sat there, staring at nothing, occasionally whispering her daughter's name. I wanted to feel angry at her. I wanted to hate her for everything she had done to me. But in that moment, all I felt was pity. Tiffany had spent her entire life being controlled, first by Linda, then by Ben. And when they finally abandoned her, leaving her with nothing, she didn't know how to survive, and that was the real tragedy. After Ben Greene was arrested and Linda Patterson was institutionalized, the chaos finally seemed to settle. But there was still one loose thread. Tiffany Greene. She was discharged from the hospital weeks later. But she was no longer the same person. Gone was the manipulative, entitled woman who had once schemed against me. What remained was a hollow shell, a woman lost in her own mind. She stopped caring for herself. She stopped speaking to people. She wandered the apartment hallways at night, whispering to herself, staring blankly at closed doors. The residents began calling her the ghost of apartment 7B. And honestly, that's exactly what she was, a ghost of the woman she used to be. At first, people pitied her, but then things took a dark turn. One evening, my friend Jessica was pushing her newborn son in a stroller through the lobby when Tiffany appeared out of nowhere. Jessica barely had time to react before Tiffany lunged for the baby. "I'll take care of him," Tiffany whispered, eyes wild. "I won't let them take him away this time." Jessica screamed, pulling the stroller back just in time. The building security rushed in, dragging Tiffany away as she shrieked and fought like a wild animal. That was the first time. It wasn't the last. Over the next few weeks, more mothers reported the same thing. Tiffany waiting outside the daycare, staring at children through the glass like a predator watching prey. Tiffany following mothers home, mumbling about protecting the babies. Tiffany lurking near playgrounds, her eyes filled with desperation and madness. She wasn't just a broken woman anymore. She was a danger. It was only a matter of time before she crossed a line she couldn't come back from. One day, a mother in the building left her baby's stroller unattended for 2 minutes while grabbing a package from the mailroom. When she turned back, the stroller was gone. Panic spread instantly. Security cameras caught the kidnapper running up the stairs. And of course, it was Tiffany. She had snatched the baby and taken off, convinced in her delusional mind that she was saving the child from a cruel fate. But this time, she wasn't getting away with it. The police were called, and within minutes, they tracked her down to an abandoned storage room on the top floor. She was found rocking the stolen baby, whispering lullabies, her face streaked with tears. When the officers tried to take the child, she screamed, "No, I won't let you hurt her. You won't take her from me." It took 3 officers to finally restrain her, and as they dragged her away, kicking and screaming, she kept calling out for her own lost baby, as if she still didn't understand what was real and what wasn't. That was the last time anyone in the building ever saw her again. Not long after Tiffany was institutionalized, Ben Greene and Linda Patterson were officially sentenced to prison. Their crimes? Child abandonment, neglect, attempted manslaughter. Ben got 15 years. Linda, already deemed mentally unstable, was sent to a high-security psychiatric facility for life. The justice system had finally caught up with them, and yet, standing there in court, watching them being led away in handcuffs, I felt no satisfaction, just exhaustion, because in the end, they had ruined their own lives. That night, as I rocked my own child to sleep, I found myself thinking back on everything that had happened, how a simple act of kindness, offering Tiffany a meal, had spiraled into a nightmare of betrayal, revenge, and cruelty. How greed, entitlement, and selfishness had destroyed an entire family. And most of all, how karma had come full circle. Every action has a consequence, and in the end, everyone pays for what they've done. Some pay with regret, some pay with pain, and some, like the Greenes and Linda Patterson, pay with everything they have left. It had been 6 months since everything fell apart, since Ben Greene was sentenced to prison, since Linda Patterson was locked away in a psychiatric hospital, since Tiffany Greene disappeared from our lives forever. And for the first time in a long, long time, my life was peaceful. I could walk down the hallway without looking over my shoulder. I could push my baby's stroller through the lobby without worrying about someone trying to snatch him away. I could finally breathe again. But every now and then I still caught glimpses of her. Tiffany Greene, or what was left of her. She wasn't in our apartment building anymore. Management had kicked her out after her arrest. But I'd heard rumors that she was living in a rundown motel across town, alone, that she spent her days wandering the streets, muttering to herself, clutching an old baby blanket like it was her lifeline. That she never fully came back from what happened. She was a warning, a lesson, a reminder of what happens when you let others control your life until there's nothing left of you. One evening, as I rocked my baby boy to sleep, I thought back on everything that had happened. All the fights, all the betrayals, all the chaos and cruelty, and I realized something. Tiffany wasn't born a villain. She became one because she let herself be controlled. By a husband who saw her as disposable, by a mother-in-law who treated her like a puppet, by a society that told her she had no say in her own life. She made the fatal mistake of surrendering her choices to people who never cared about her. And when they threw her away, she had nothing left. But me? I had chosen a different path. I had fought back. I had protected my family, my dignity, and my peace. And because of that, I had won. As I lay my son down in his crib, I leaned down and whispered softly, "No one decides your life but you, sweetheart. and for the first time in a long, long time, I knew I truly believed it. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a like and subscribe so you don't miss any future content.